All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at the hard science behind one of the most notoriously feared fish on the planet. I mean, we've all seen the movies, right? We've heard the wild legends, but we're going to push all that Hollywood myth-making aside and see what's actually going on beneath the surface. To kick things off, we really just have to address the elephant in the room. Are piranhas actually these man-eating, flesh-stripping monsters pop culture makes them out to be? I mean, we've been fed this idea that they can reduce a full-grown animal to bone in literal seconds. But where did that terrifying reputation even come from? And, is any of it actually backed by science? Well, believe it or not, a massive chunk of this myth traces straight back to a former U.S. president. In 1913, Theodore Roosevelt was on an Amazon expedition, and he wrote this chilling account of watching a cow get pushed into the river where it was just instantly skeletonized by a frantic school of piranhas. But here's the crazy historical plot twist. The locals actually completely staged the whole thing for him. They blocked off a section of the river, trapped the piranhas, and basically starved them for days just to guarantee a good show. So Roosevelt's famous story single-handedly cemented this terrifying myth, but it was based on a totally artificial setup.
So that brings us to our first reality check: predators or prey?
Science completely flips this bloodthirsty narrative upside down. The biggest plot twist here? Piranhas are actually highly adaptable omnivores. Yeah, they're not those strict, ravenous carnivores we always picture. This whole idea that they only eat meat and will swarm from miles away at a single drop of blood, it's just completely false. I mean, just look at what they're actually eating. Depending on their species, their age, or even just the season, a piranha is honestly just as likely to eat plant material as it is meat. When they're young, they might start off eating tiny zooplankton, and some species even become these sneaky, specialized scale eaters. They literally just swim up, nip the fins off other fish, and swim away without killing them. Researchers have even found piranha stomachs in flooded forests completely packed with chewed-up seeds and fruits. To really see how this works, it helps to compare the red-bellied piranha with its close relative, the pacu. You can see exactly how their diets shaped their biology. The piranha has these insanely specialized teeth, jagged, interlocking, basically like little shearing blades. But the plant-eating pacu, it evolved flat, blunt molars that honestly look incredibly human. They use them to crush nuts. And get this, they look so similar from the outside that juvenile pacus will actually mimic the red-bellied piranha's colors just to scare off predators. So because they aren't actually these invincible apex predators, it completely changes how we understand their group behavior. For the longest time, scientists just assumed piranhas school together to hunt, kind of like a wolf pack of the river. But recent research shows they actually school out of fear. They're really just regular, somewhat timid fish, grouping together so they don't get eaten by cormorants, caimans, or river dolphins. They're prey just as much as they are predators. Moving on to Section 2, the record-breaking bite. Okay, so we've definitely humbled their Hollywood reputation. But let's talk about the biological superpowers they actually do have. Because mechanically speaking, what they can do is mind-blowing. The black piranha holds the actual Guinness World Record for the strongest bite relative to body size of any living animal. In one study, a single fish weighing just over a kilogram cranked out a peak bite force of over 320 newtons. To put that into perspective, if you look at their power-to-weight ratio, they can bite down with a force roughly 30 to 40 times their own body weight. That absolutely dwarfs prehistoric heavyweights. I mean, it beats out estimates for the T-Rex and completely crushes the modern American alligator. Relative to its size, it is literally an unmatched biting machine. How do they pull that off? Through some seriously extreme anatomy. Their jaw muscles are disproportionately massive. We're talking more than 2% of their entire total body mass just in those muscles. Plus, they attach right near the tip of their jaw. Now, that kind of sacrifices their biting speed, but it exponentially multiplies the raw shearing force they can produce. All right, on to Section 3, barking fish and acoustic communication. Beyond their bite, piranhas have a sensory superpower that almost nobody knows about. They talk to each other. A really brilliant recent study showed that piranhas actively generate distinct sound patterns to communicate. Most of us just assume fish are completely silent, right? But by recording audio and video of red-bellied piranhas at the same time, researchers proved they actually have a functional, phonetic language. Which begs the question, how on earth do they make noise underwater?
They obviously don't have vocal cords. Well, they use these specialized, incredibly fast-contracting sonic muscles. When their brain fires a signal, these muscles contract and rapidly vibrate against their gas-filled swim bladder. It's basically like they have a built-in acoustic drum right inside their bodies.
And we can actually translate a bit of their vocabulary now. Scientists have identified 3 distinct sounds. First up is a 120 hertz bark, which sounds kind of like a dog, and they use this as a warning during face-to-face standoffs. Then there's a lower 40 hertz drumming noise they make when they're fighting or competing for food. And finally, a high-pitched 1740 hertz snapping sound. They make this when they are actively chasing something down to bite it. And that sound actually comes from them literally gnashing their teeth together. Also, fun little aside, the scientists figuring all this out, they learned about those warning barks the hard way. All 3 researchers actually had to go to the hospital for stitches after getting bitten while handling them.
And finally, Section 4, Piranhas and People.
So let's look at how humans actually interact with these fish. While we up in the West usually just see them as B-movie monsters, indigenous South American tribes have seen them as a totally vital resource for centuries. They ingeniously use the piranha's interlocking, razor-sharp teeth as everyday tools. I mean, these natural blades are absolutely perfect for carving wood, sharpening hunting darts, or even cutting hair. But when you look at the United States, keeping a piranha as a pet really highlights this huge divide in how we perceive them and how the law handles them. Looking at this state-by-state breakdown, there's zero consensus. Places like Ohio, Illinois, and Michigan let you have them, and they're super popular with exotic pet owners. But warmer states like California, Texas, and Florida, totally banned. And the reason makes perfect sense. If someone carelessly dumps a pet piranha into a warm southern river, this highly adaptable fish could easily survive, breed, and totally wreck the local ecosystem. Ultimately, when we strip away all that Hollywood fiction and those staged historical spectacles, the science leaves us with something way cooler. A highly social, drumming, omnivorous fish. Sure, they pack a world record bite, but they are infinitely more fascinating and significantly less malicious than we've been led to believe. So, knowing what you know now about their actual behavior, is it finally time to reconsider your fear of the water?